I can see lots of businesses that I've been involved in and lots of businesses I own and lots of businesses I observe are the same. So they bring in the new gun head of marketing from great credentials, from blah, 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 and it all looks good on a piece of paper. But we need to find out if you're coming into my environment and if you're going to lead me, I want to know what you stand for.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and how do you solve that issue?
That's part of our workshop. So probably the third stage of our workshop is a relationship building exercise, and we call it the storytelling. And we have 4 questions, and it's exactly that. And it literally is game changing, because suddenly we go from being a transactional group to, and some of the stories that come out of it are incredible.
Well, give me an example. I don't give me an example, but I don't quite know what you mean by storytelling. Do you mean the individual comes in and just says, "Look,
I'm happy to share it. Yeah, look, who do you admire?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us an achievement in your life. Tell us a time when you've faced adversity, and tell us your individual purpose.
Right.
Admire.
Not so much in terms of the business, but your own personal stuff.
And it's also a test too of how well they know each other. Because if you've got a really close group, you'll find they'll share some really good information. And we ask the leader to go first, and they normally set the scene for the rest of the group. Who you admire is normally aligned to your values.
Yeah.
I admire Mark. Because I've heard him speak so many times. He's super honest. He tells it the way it is. He believed in me. Suddenly we're going, okay, well, that's might be the value system of the achievement. Is not only we don't give ourselves a pat on the back either, and that's a big thing in any environment.
And in sport too, by the way.
In sport as well.
You can't sit there admiring your last kick or your last punch.
So that's design, mate. Well done. Great. Have a listen to that. Everyone goes, gee, that was pretty cool. I didn't know Mark did that or Roosie did that. So we're starting to get deeper below that, how's your wife, how's your kids, or how's your husband, or how's your partner.
Or what university you already got. Or where was your last
footy
job?
Team. Sydney went on the
Where's
weekend.
your last coach?
Yeah, exactly. And the adversity piece can be really,
And what's that mean, adversity?
Well, anything from, we've literally had, people say, well, my son at 12 years of age, had cancer, and people's jaws hit the ground. But no one knew because to your point, no one knew the story behind the transactional person that was doing the job. So it ranges from again, what you're prepared to share, but it's about, again, and the story there is, when we face adversity, we don't have an option. We've got to get up in the morning, we've got to put our pants on or dress on or whatever, we've got to get out of bed and we've got to just keep moving forward. So we're starting to get to the bottom of what makes people tick. And you think about the people in your life that you have the most honest conversations with. They're the people you have the strongest relationships with. So suddenly, as a business, we're starting to understand people's value set. I know a bit more about what they've achieved. I also know what they've been through. The number of text messages and emails and phone calls after the sessions. If we're doing a 2-day session, the next morning we go, well, how did we go last night? I shot Roosie a text message. I rang him, said, thanks for sharing. That was it. It literally is game changing, because suddenly we're going to work with someone that we're really invested in. And that, again, that's the lesson from a footy club. Probably the last change at a footy club was the relationship piece. There was this notion that a coach couldn't really get close to the players, and I understand why. That's gone full circle now. As long as you're honest, tell them the truth, set really good standards. There's a really good, I can't remember who told me this, test of a good leader is how many weddings you get invited to from your staff. And I thought, that's actually quite interesting, isn't it? Whereas 40 years ago, it was sort of like probably the opposite. How many weddings you don't get invited to because you're telling,
tough
but that's an interesting way to look at it. So we're starting to switch the mindset of leadership as just this top-down, you do, to this relationship building exercise around a culture code and around standards and around KPIs and around the technical side of it. And as you said, it's complex, but I'm really probably more talking about the characteristics that I believe. The virtues of what takes to be a good leader.
And does it work the other way too? Should a good leader then actually ask his next in line and the next in line, should the leader actually ask those questions. So let's say, you've done a review of the business and there's some hard discussions to be had with, 3 or 4 of your people. And does a leader outsource that to somebody else, or does a leader sit in on those meetings and sort of, have those hard discussions, or should you get the next in line to do it? Like, how involved is it? Because, a leader can't be involved in every transaction in the business, but how do you equip a leader as to when he knows he's got to, or she knows they've got to get involved, and when it's okay to hand off?
That's a complex question, and that's the complexity of a business. But I would say it's probably I'll give you an example. So Sydney, I was more a doing coach because it was my first job. So I was more a doing
Which
coach.
means what?
Yeah. The getting in, teaching the players how to kick and mark and handball and
basic skills.
Yeah, skills and setting strategies and all that sort of stuff. And obviously I had great assistant coaches. When I went to Melbourne, I was really the foreman of that footy club, and more doing the things that you spoke about. Great assistants who played with me or coached with me in Sydney. I knew they knew the X's and O's, and they were fantastic. So I would be in those meetings you're talking about, in with the medical department, in with the fitness department, talking to Josh Marnie and the recruiting officers, probably trying to put bushfires out before they start.
I was going to ask, are you in there to get information, or are you in there to be seen, or are you in there to influence outcomes? Initially
influence. Initially say, well, I'm new at this club. This is the way I would like it done. But I respect your role and what you do. But as you're going through it, holding people accountable or empowering them and making, often I'd be in a meeting. I wouldn't necessarily have to say much, but don't underestimate the very presence of. We did a session recently. I won't tell you what organisation it was. Big organisation, and really important part of the organisation. And I remember saying to a business partner, one thing that I find strange, that the CEO hasn't poked their head into our session. And he goes, you're right. And again, I'm not because they're busy.
Yeah,
it's a big company. I'm not
but
talking.
Sometimes we get busy doing stuff every day, and sometimes we've got to step back and actually get involved in these things.
100%. And I said, look, just poke your head in for 10 minutes, half an hour. Anyway, the last day of the session, we went round and said, how'd it go? Do you enjoy it? Blah, 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 expectations, et cetera. He said, look, I was probably just a little bit disappointed that the CEO didn't drop in. So if I'm picking it up as an external consultant, they're picking up it as well. And I guess that's the feel of a good leader. There's not a 10, 12 meetings, 13 meetings, 14 meetings. I think the feel of the good leader is, okay, what is important for me today? I've heard this. No, that's okay. Mark can cope with that. He and I have been together for a long time. He can run that section. I don't know. Peter over there, he's new. I probably haven't spent a lot of time with him. I know he's got a meeting with his marketing team. I'm going to poke my head in there today. I'm going to give him 10, 15 minutes. That's the feel of a really good leader, because the problem is the number of times you would see people go, I'm busy. What are you busy doing? We've got to be careful we're just not busy for busy's sake.
Yeah.
Busy is an easy term.
Well, it's also an avoidance technique too.
100%. So what are you busy doing? Is that more important than that? And sometimes it's avoidance too. Sometimes we don't want to have those hard conversations, So it's easy
I've seen it. I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a question? And I've often thought about this when it comes to the topic of leadership. Is there really such a concept as leadership, or is it more better described as followship? In other words, I'm not leading anybody. They choose to follow me because of the things you said.
Yeah.
I show empathy and support and blah, blah, blah. There's a list of things. Would it be better described as followship? Or is there a better word for it?
I don't want to say an influencer, because an influencer's got a bad connotation.
Totally. No, but today it has. It's a different connotation.
But a leader should be there to influence, to get people to come on the journey with me. Now, the other
is it on the journey? That's interesting. Is it on the journey? Because someone asked me this about this the other day, and I said, well, what I really love about business, the businesses that I've been in, is I think that I have helped some people who directly reported into me to become the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
So it's more really helped. I mean, I think of someone like David Gingell at Channel 9.
Yeah.
They loved him at Channel 9 when he was there, because David helped people become the best version of himself, and there was absolutely no ego there. He couldn't give a shit about himself.
Well, I think what we're talking about is probably two different things that are related, though. What I'm doing the here and the now, so I'm working for, you and your company, but I should be learning individual leadership skills, because I'm not going to stay there the whole time. One of the philosophies we had at Sydney was, I don't want you to be just a better footballer. I want you to be a better person. So when we're at the company, we should be, let's get on the journey together and let's do it. But as you said, part of that is, I want you at some point, if we can't give you an opportunity here, I want you to leave and go somewhere else. And I want you to be better for the experience of coming here. So, when someone says to me, oh, mate, I know, Roosie left, the company, but geez, he's been of value. I should be proud of that, because for whatever reason, I haven't been able to offer that opportunity. Someone had that role, but that's a great compliment to you. Oh, what a great person, gee, what'd you teach them over there? They're so engaged, they're so loyal, they're so, got a great personal brand, they're good people. And that's what you're talking about. We should be upskilling people to come on the journey with us at the time, but also to have their own journey that we're proud of, regardless of where that is.
So they asked me on the ABC many, many years ago, when I did the Australian Story, which is like 20 years ago. It nearly seems irrelevant today, but they asked me what did I think was my greatest achievement. I said exactly that. I saw some people become so bloody good at their job that I was so delighted that they actually could leave me and get, if they wanted to, they could have left and got the best jobs in my industry, banking, in the whole country. They could have walked into any job they wanted. And then I thought, I thought, hang on, don't give yourself a pat on the back, because that wasn't me doing that.
Yeah.
That was them doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But maybe I helped them a little bit. I might have inspired them a little bit or motivated them a little bit to become the best version of themselves. It helps when you're part of a movement.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
When you're in a business that's taking on the banks, in our case in those days.
Yeah.
Because you felt, wow, I'm making a difference here. I'm making a change.
Yeah.
How important, and this is my last question to you, but how important is it for someone like you to come in, or alternatively the leader of the organisation or the leadership group of the organisation, to recognise what is our purpose in this world? And it's not, making money. That is sort of one stakeholder would like that, shareholders. But what is our real objective here? What are we trying to do for every one of our customers? How important is that part?
I literally did this exercise with my son this morning. He's got two coaches now, performance by at Prince to King. And I literally did that with him. And we had a 15, 20-minute session this morning, because I wanted to set up the conversation for next week. And I said, guys, why did you set up the business, Dylan? Because it's easy in our world, and I'll tell you, whether it's sport to win a premiership or, banking to make the most money or get you say, it's really easy to lose sight of why we started or what we do. It's fundamental. It is absolutely fundamental to know why we exist. And I had this conversation yesterday. I was doing some work with the rugby league team, and I said, I think one of the things that Sydney have been able to do is when people come to the game, they know they're going to try really hard and they know there's going to be a really good product. Yeah, and again, they're not going to win every week, because if we hang on, and I remember saying this to the board, how do we define success in this footy club? Because if we're saying it's the premiership, there's only one successful team every year. It just doesn't make sense that there's 17 unsuccessful teams.
It's too remote.
It's hard. But to your point, I absolutely agree. Why have I started this business? What am I doing? And it happens a lot where we get to that point and we can see it, that the person that started the business has completely lost sight of what they've started, and they've lost their connection to what they've started the business. And then all of a sudden they've just become X's and O's, and and then they're panicking. We want to float it. I need some money or whatever. I was saying, go back to, if you do this the best you possibly can, let me tell you what's going to happen. You'll get an investor. You will get that money. You will make the profit. But if we lose sight of that, I don't know. That's when, in my view, that's when business really starts to struggle.